Office memorandum which Department of Science and Technology has issued in year 2009, which talks about a provision by which Indian R&D lab can hold the equity in lieu of knowledge or technology. How many of such cases have happened in India so far? I am not sure even one of them is there. So the provision is there, the policy is there, the implementation is the problem. And I would like to conclude my talk with this. Can you please click on the back? Yeah. I would like to conclude my talk with this particular note, that out of all models to build long-term relationship with industry is there, according to me, the most potential one is the equity-based model, wherein you give the technology, you do the testing services, you create the new company and hold the equity out of it. That's the model which the developed countries have adopted and received humongous benefits out of it. In India, it is yet to happen. Thank you.
Bhargav would have on there are lots of things that the nitty-gritties of technology transfer, institution relationship building and things like that. I have been working on patent databases is something that I've intensely looked into in the last several years, courtesy Dr. Arora. I could actually sort of again insight into what happens, what's the, if there is a problem there, can patent organization help in technology transfer? Dr. A.S. Rao in the morning was telling you that's asking too much. Well, I know that's asking too much. Patent organization anywhere need not really worry about technology transfer, whether it is India or US or wherever it is. But then, well, there are lots of things that could be done by the patent organization and that are done really in facilitating technology transfer. Well, very interestingly, we have a new IP policy, and then for the first time, we are emphasizing on lots of things, including commercialization of IP rights and things. Unfortunately, there are lots of models that WIPO has suggested in terms of how to go about it has not been followed, particularly conducting a baseline survey and things like that. But all the same, well, there is a government, there is a system which is interested in taking on this kind of a thing is well interesting. Among other things, WIPO of course talks in terms of commercialization and has its own prescriptions on as to how to go about it, and also about enforcement of IP rights. Well, that is very essential in our context. Enforcement, because technology transfer perhaps sometimes happens because, well, nobody knows whether they have actually stolen technology. Well, that's one way of happening. In fact, India, by interacting with lots of people like you in ASCII, I have also discovered one specific instance, I must really sort of recollect, where Indian Patent Office very effectively transferred the technology, or at least tried to transfer the technology. When a person with his new invention came over to the Indian Patent Office, this several years back, one actually sort of filed his patent application, they were trying to persuade the person very hard not to waste his time in patent office, but go over to the industry, sell it there and make money by reversing time. That's a very novel way of technology transfer from patent office. But then it is a true story. In fact, can patent office facilitate technology transfer? Well, it's a question. How it can actually sort of do that? Is that a function of the patent office at all? I pose this question, of course, and anybody, mostly people would actually sort of kind of put a question mark about whether it is at all. But then I was actually sort of looking at what happens elsewhere. In 2011, when Obama's second term, in the first year or so, he also actually sort of had the same problem in terms of commercialization, creating jobs. That is for every government. And then he came out with a memorandum accelerating technology transfer and commercialization, because US invests something like $300 billion every year, $1 billion every year in public funded institution in R&D. So they had to actually sort of see that something happens with whatever the IP that is generated and things like that. USPTO picked up from that memorandum, and then they set out set of executive actions to facilitate technology transfer. What they did, they worked on the patent ownership, and then also they were sort of worked in terms of reducing abusing patent litigation. Patent ownership, well, I can sell Charminar to you. I don't own one. I may not have actually seen in all its entirety, but all this same, if that happens, if you are a gullible, it is possible in certain technologies. Not all technologies that are patented are not readily commercializable or something like that. There are many technologies over there, particularly which are very easy to reach the market. Consumer products and things like that could be taken very easily, if you have the rights with you. So, think in terms of understand who owns the technology today. USPTO had a database which would actually sort of give details about the licensing, ownership, and things like that. They thought in terms of improving on that and then actually sort of making it real time. How they went about it? Well, I conducted several searches, and then I'm just showing you some screenshots. This is an improved search interface from the USPTO database website. Okay, it has all the different elements in terms of assigner, assignee, patent number, invention title, and lots of other things. Let's actually sort of go a little beyond and then see how it happens. Next one. Yeah, I conducted research in terms of what Samsung has licensed or assigned to their patents. I get a list, and then first thing, even for somebody who is not really very well aware of what's what and things like that, one would actually sort of make to realize you don't really need to own a patent to assign it or license it. You can be an applicant. You're not been granted the rights as that. You're an applicant. Now, there are several of these patents which do not really have a number. It's an application number. It's not actually sort of a patent rights owned by Samsung. It's already been transferred, and it is possible. And then telling us to who it has been transferred to. And a patent can be transferred to several people at a time, when it was transferred, and all those details are something that you can actually sort of readily get to know about this. On this side, you can actually sort of get to know who's the correspondent, what is the conveyance type, what kind of a company it has been transferred to, and lots of things like that. Let's get on. I conducted several other searches. Then you get on to another level of details, where it gives you assignment of assigner interest, the details in terms of who has got it, what details, and lots of things like that. Let's get on. You can actually sort of look at the original patent and see what it's all about. That one is actually sort of kind of licensed by a local company, like Indian, I mean, Hyderabad, but then, doing it through a USPTO database. Okay, you know the details in terms of the various things that CSIR, for instance, has patented and assigned. Okay, let's get on. Then the details in terms of where it has happened. Who has actually, here is a US patent bought by Maharashtra-based pharma company. So, anyway, I understand the rights. Rights are actually sort of for the US geographical territory and things like that. But again, it is happening very easily because the database is out there and it's giving all the details very easily. And you can appreciate this only when I show you a few things about our own database. Let's get on. So this is, this is another same product assigned to another person and things like that. Okay. So further, 1 minute, the previous one, the next one. Okay? Patent database for me must give the details in terms of what is the state of invention. How would I know what is the state of invention? Anybody, whether you've got an institution based actually research on or otherwise, must explore the patent database and then get to know who are all those who are involved in the R&D and the technology, institutions, individuals, and then how long do their patent rights last? Have they taken it long back, applied long back? Is it really still having a longer life and things like that? There are lots of other details that are required, and then anybody, the experts sitting here or otherwise, would actually explore a database like this and then find out what is what with a given technology. Alternatives available, who are the competitors, who have got the licenses, how long it's going to hold, and all these. Those things have to come from patent database only. It's not going to come from anywhere else. You can do all the negotiation, whatever it is, it has to basically come from this. And with extensive search that I have done over the years, I know that US patent database is a thorough one. I have actually even otherwise, away from the patents, dealt with the textual databases, created many of them. I know the difficulties of creating and maintaining a textual database, whether it's patent database or any other database. This is a very thorough one because it goes through lots of checks and quality checks and things like that. One of the things that I must really mention to you is when the record is created, a set of IPC numbers, International Patent Classification numbers, are assigned. A patent doesn't quite have only one subject. It has a series of subjects, one dominant one, of course, remain, and then they have they have their own classification system, and that's also used by the US PTO, and that's also given. So all the other details, all the related standardization of the terminology, names, because all those standardization is very important when you are trying to use the database to make an assessment. Who is an expert? Well, if the information is haphazardly given, then there is a problem. And then also they give you all the details about disputes, possible problems, and all that. So this is, as far as the USPTO is concerned. I have extensively, of course, searched and used the Indian Patent Database. This is one of the interfaces, an earlier one that we had. Take it from me, it's a cumbersome retrieval tool to use. We have very recently a new one, which is slightly more difficult to use. You don't actually necessarily get the right information at all. I don't know what is the database, this is the interface, search interface, but what is the database that is behind, whether the old one is reused or something else they have done, is not something that I know, but it promises to give us right from 1912 to 2016, where those patent records are not available with Patent Office. This is official information. When I search, I get a display like this, and I was searching for, I forget what I wrote, but then I was searching certainly, 32 records. Get out of the next one. I picked up one of the records for knowing further details. Page not found. And what do I do with the title, where I don't actually get the patent record? This is the complete specification that I get over there. There's nothing. Here is, something more satisfying, complete specification. It doesn't quite give me details in terms of what is the patent all about, what is the title, who is owning it. None of the details are there. I had actually refer somewhere else to actually know that. Well, look at it. Here is a record where there is no claims registered at all. There is no claims at all. When you look at the complete record, no claims. And then, the text is running out of the page. This is only some of the very common mistakes that happen. There are many, many exceptional ones which would actually sort of make any analysis or understanding of the technology that is patented in India turns out to be very, very challenging. I don't know why it has to actually sort of happen. Here is the first level retrieval that happens. When I want to actually sort of print from this, all the ply, I don't actually sort of get full inventors, I don't actually sort of get full assignees if there are more than a few and things like that. I can't really sort of print it at all. It is difficult for us to actually sort of get our doctorates and then things like that. But in a database, you don't actually sort of bring in doctor, and Sri. None of that would happen. In fact, these are all basic. Look at your own name tags. No doctor, no professor, no nothing there. It's not really required, particularly in a public domain database like this. The honorifics would not. Somewhere it is there, somewhere it is not there, somewhere surname, somewhere the personal name coming first. What happens is making a search, getting to know what is what, who's the inventor, what is his domain strength. It turns out to be impossible. And this is the new interface that has actually sort of come with the change of government. You don't really get the full record, even in the new one, anywhere. In fact, there is complete specification, application status, whatever it is. You don't actually sort of get to know the complete record in one screen. And I tell you all these things because, well, I have used it and I've tried to actually sort of analyze the entire, quite a big chunk of data, records from here. And then, well, I could actually sort of do it because, well, I could actually sort of, overnight, in a matter of 1 weekend, I had to actually sort of take all the data down so patent office people would not really sort of get to know of it and block my, ability to download for analysis. Nobody can use this, previous one, use this kind of a database for any intelligent analysis. Our patent database is still small compared to the US and things like that. So there is every possibility to correct it now. We need to allow secondary industry to develop on the patents data. If you can't transfer technologies based on some kind of a restrictive ownership of the data itself. Secondary database is pretty essential. The urban patent database, invention database, is not a patent database at all. They reanalyze your patent information and then put together the invention situation on a given technology and all that. So they make it simple for anybody who's looking at a particular technology, who owns it, where is the patent in operation, and all kinds of things. Demystify the patent jargon. That's what Durban invention patent. That is the whole secondary industry in itself. For that, they are not going to actually sort of take the data from somewhere else. They have to take it from the patent office only. We have to make provision for giving details, creating assignment details. Who owns it? I have a patent today, and I mean, you're looking at it as a possible client. I just don't know who owns it. No. USPTO doesn't list the expired patent at all, though they have all the records. Here we have a list of expired patents on subject-wise kind of a categorization on nic.in domain, which is a government domain. You should not be doing that at all. It is somebody else's problem to actually sort of find out whether a patent is still in vogue or it's expired and things like that. No, we should not be doing this. But then what is that we need to be doing thoroughly? We are not. But then we are doing the other thing. If the database is thorough, it is possible for other agency to extract the data. In fact, USPTO database is squeezed out on a very regular basis. Not that they do not know it, they facilitate it. So a lot of secondary industries based on such a data is in operation. You can, because of that, you can always get the data in Google Patents. You don't have to release it or go anywhere. You don't even have to search the USPTO database. Google Patents would give you all the information. So I was just looking at pizza cutter. There are 682 patents. The next one, when I lapsed patents within, yeah, 138 of them. Are they really lapsed, or is the lapsed term coming in the text somewhere? I improved on this, and I found out that, well, there are 82 really lapsed pizza cutters that are there, the technologies that could be taken without anybody's permission. So technology transfer happens even with lapsed patents. And then all that you have to do is use the public domain database, because they have made the data available. All these, one level further, you would get to know when it lapsed, why it lapsed.